shit's in the safe. Got me a spot out the way. Nigga just tryna be safe.
Let's get to sports talk.
Minnesota, a team that beat you just about 10, 15 days ago. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, for me to sit here and act like I understand what the committee does would be crazy. But I think you look at our schedule. I think we got maybe the fourth toughest schedule in the country. And then you look at the run that we went on. Obviously playing Michigan and Michigan State and obviously Minnesota as well, and then having to go on the road to Iowa and win there. So. You can make a lot of arguments. Obviously, Minnesota's a really good football team. Got a lot of respect for them. We had to go on the road to their place and play and had a chance to win it at the end, but we didn't get it done. So, I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm focused on, obviously, Ohio.
It's a change every week. They switch teams in and out when they lose. Minnesota lost this week against Iowa. Now, the team they beat jump in front of them. They moved down a spot because of that loss. Penn State won the game and moved in front. You don't know what's going to stick right now. Until the end of the season, we see the ratings come out for the last time, and then you're going to see what team's going to be at in that spot.
State. On film, obviously extremely talented, probably one of the more talented teams that I've ever seen on film. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge that we're excited for.
Coach, I know you said trying to understand the committee's rankings is a difficult task, but just in general, coaching now in the college football playoff era, because we hear these discussions and see them on TV every Tuesday is different. How do the kids react to the rankings and the conversation around it? How do you deal with that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is in most programs, I don't think it's probably discussed a whole lot. I know we don't talk about it at all. I mean, a couple of weeks ago we came out as number 4, and the only reason, I knew as I was in my office and all the managers downstairs were washing the clothes, and all of a sudden they started screaming and going crazy. I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I just think at this point, I don't think most coaches and most programs spend a whole lot of time on it. I mean, obviously when it gets down to the wire, you start checking more closely, but most people are just focused on trying to find a way to get a win that week. And I will say this, I think the playoff committee's got a tough job. Everybody, it makes for great conversation. Everybody criticizes them, but I think they got a tough job.
They do, because they don't know what's going to happen every week. Because most of the weeks, people get upset by teams that's just have nothing to play for, and they just more hungry than the teams that do have something to play for. So an upset is bound to happen. You see what happened this weekend with Minnesota. An upset bound to happen. That's why it changed every week, because the teams that's in that playoff hunt either get upset and will have to move down a rank. Then another team, the same way. They lose, move down, and then that team jump right back in front of them. They do have a tough job on their hands, because they don't know where to place everyone at. Even undefeated teams, they don't know where to place them at. They switch them in and out mostly every weekend.
The thing I think they should do before anything else is I think they should come out publicly and say, hey, college football needs to get into a system where we can, compare apples to apples. Everybody should play the same number of conference games. Everybody should be in a conference. Everybody should or shouldn't play 1AA teams. Everybody should have a conference championship. And if you're not in a conference or you don't do one of these things, then you're going to be penalized. To me, that's the thing that has to happen for them to be able to make decisions on who should be in and who shouldn't. How do you do that? When one conference is playing 8 games, one conference is playing 9. I think that's the thing that needs to happen. And I'm not a proponent that it needs to be 8, 9 games. It could be 10 games. Just make it the same for everybody.
You can make it the same for everybody, but they just going off all the quality of the wins that you have, all the ranked opponents you beat. that's the way you could get into the college football playoffs. How many wins do you have against ranked opponents? If you don't get to a conference championship game, that probably can help you out a lot more if you won't have a chance to play in one of those championship games. If you beat these ranked opponents, that could be a good argument for most of these teams.
Yes, as we're talking to James Franklin, Penn State head coach, our buddy in here, Jason Fitz, always said you could have 13 people in a room make the exact same hamburger and you're going to get maybe 13 different decisions on what the best hamburger is. So it is a difficult task, no doubt about that. And you as a coach understand that, just win and keep going and you can be in. Players, as Mike mentioned, 18 to 22-year-olds, a little different in how you have to deal with them. So along those lines, we'll get certainly to the Ohio State game, but your quarterback, Sean Clifford, he got off of social media, said he was kind of sick and tired of what was going on there, had death threats and stuff, and we know how social media can be. How do you deal with that part of it? I'm sure you love just coaching on the field, but you have so much more to do as the head coach to deal with these players. How do you deal with the social media aspect of it?
Well, that's the hard part. First of all, I tell them to get off it. I think it'd be a great, decision for most college football players, most college athletes, to stay off it during the season. We've gotten to a point in our society where, outrageous behaviors have become acceptable. The things that people send our players or coaches or emails or stuff on social media, it's crazy. And then after the fact, there's always an apology and things like that. But we've just gotten to a point in our society where we accept behaviors that we would have never accepted before. And
how are y'all gonna threaten a quarterback because they lose? You don't win every game, every week. No one don't know what it takes to be a quarterback at any type of level. College level, they ain't going out there seeing defensive linemen be in your face, have to rush to throw the football. They ain't out there doing his job. Playing the quarterback ain't an easy job. So y'all gonna dare threaten him because they lost a game? You're not gonna win every week. Sometimes it's gonna be a week that you're not gonna win it. It's gonna be some teams that can win all their games. But it's a tough job to do when you got pressure on you. Anyone out there doing it with him?
it's concerning. You see it in so many different areas. I don't want to get political right now or anything else, but there's so many areas that we've accepted behaviors that are not in anybody's best interest. And, we're talking about college football, we're talking about a game, and I know there's extreme passion. I mean, we've averaged 106,000 fans per game over the last couple of years, and you don't get that without passion. I get it from both perspectives, but I do think as a society we all need to take a deep breath and look at the big picture.
Sadly, this isn't the first time you've had to deal with this, Coach Franklin. Your safety, Jonathan Sutherland, was sent that letter about dreadlocks and tattoos not being a Penn State player. Yeah, exactly. And, Coach, so dealing with a lot of that outside noise is always a difficult portion of this, but also dealing with the amount of talent you guys have turned over in recent years. We know we mentioned Sean and what he dealt with on social media, but what about the task of getting Sean ready to go, taking over for a guy like Trace McSorley, who played such great ball for you? What stuck out about Sean that's made him such a great guy to take over and man the helm now?
Well, I think the first thing is his time behind Trace, I think, was very valuable for him. I think whenever you can take some time and train behind a guy who had a lot of success, who was a tremendous leader and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of value. When I was with the Green Bay Packers, we drafted Aaron Rodgers that year, and
it's already bad enough. It's pressure on these teams and the quarterback. He had to go out there and try to be perfect so they could be able to make the playoffs. It's already a tough job for him already. Of course he's going to get off of social media because he got to be focused for these games coming up and weekends. He don't need to be focusing on what y'all saying. because he lost that game against Minnesota and everything. Y'all want to send him death threats, and y'all not under his pressure.
I make the argument, Aaron being able to come in and sit behind Brett Favre and learn from what Brett did well and maybe things that Aaron would do differently than Brett. I think there's value, you know, and Sean's been able to do that. You know, but he's a guy that was raised really well at home. He was raised well from a football perspective, went to a great high school program in Ohio, and you know, learned what it took to sacrifice and what it took to win, and then came here and did everything we've asked him to do. But he's a competitor. He's got a lot more athletic ability than people realize, and he can beat you with his arm, he can beat you with his legs, and he can beat you with his mind, most importantly.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the